I'm Kathleen Krentz. I'm one of the 5 godly play teachers here at Clayton Valley Presbyterian Church. I want to welcome you to our story circle this Sunday. Of course, you may be watching on another day of the week, an advantage of our video recording. Our videographer is wearing a mask. You see that I am not, so that you can hear me more clearly. But I want to assure you that we are taking all the precautions to make sure that we're being safe. Someday, hopefully not too long from now, we'll be able to come together at this circle, and then I will be wearing a mask, I'm sure. When we come to Godly Play, we leave from the sanctuary on most Sundays. Usually there's time with Pastor Barbara, which is pretty special, and we hear some music. And then we get ready to come in through the threshold into this sacred worship space, just for young people. When we come to this space, we are joining a tradition begun about 40 years ago by Dr. Jerome Berriman. And if you're interested in more information about Godly Play, you may want to listen to the first couple of minutes of the first 2 Sundays in April, because there's more information about Godly Play there for you. Our room is filled with stories in the oral tradition. So when we come together in this room, we always start in the very same way. The Lord be with you. I wish that our young people were here. They take turns, and if you're watching, my friends, you know that we take turns. Wait, it's my turn, because we need to go to our calendar. That's one of the first things we do when we come together, is to remember where we are in the circle of the church year. Already, we're in the 5th Sunday of Eastertide. We have just as many Sundays after Easter as we did before it. Such a big mystery, such great joy to get ready to come close to, and so much to wonder about afterwards. White is the color of joy and of mystery. Already the 5th Sunday. We make ourselves ready to come close to a story. We have several languages, the languages of the parables, the languages of our church story, even the language of silence. Most of our stories are sacred stories taken from either the Old Testament, the Hebrew Scriptures, or on these 2 sets of shelves, the Greek Scriptures, the New Testament. And that's where I'm going today. Watch carefully where I get our materials for today's story. Once you've heard a story in this room, it's yours forever, and during the work time, you can take down any story that you've heard to make it your own and tell it. I'll make a couple of trips because I need not only this basket, but something else important. I think some of you will recognize this. This story has parts that are very familiar to us and parts that might be new. So we listen to hear the things we like the best, and we listen to hear what might be in the story that's just for us today. This is Jerusalem. And you know this. It's where the temple was. every year, the people of God would make the trip from their homes to Jerusalem to celebrate the Passover, to remember the time when God led them safely through the waters to freedom. It was Jesus' habit to do that with his friends too. If he was home in Nazareth, he would come from there with his family. If he had been out working with his friends, they would come. But they made the trip like so many others who walked, perhaps had a donkey to ride, so that they could come and be together at the temple in Jerusalem for that special time of remembering and being close to God. This year, as Jesus came to the temple, he saw a parade of rich people. Putting money, sometimes quite a lot of it, sometimes bags of money, into the treasury at the temple. The elders and the rabbis at the temple nodded and smiled. All that money. And then Jesus noticed an older woman, a poor widow. Her husband had died, and she had not much at all. She too made her way. And when she got to the treasury of the temple, she had only 2 copper coins, what we would think of as pennies. Jesus watched all this, and then he turned to his friends. He said, "Who do you think gave more? Was it all those rich people with their bags of money and purses of coins that they put in the treasury?" He said, "Listen, I'm telling you, the one who gave more is this woman, for she gave all that she had." I wonder what you think about that. I wonder what you might like about that. I wonder if there's a part of that that you think is the most important. Sometimes the grown-ups will ask, "So what did you learn today? What was the story about?" I wonder what this story is about for you. I wonder in this story where you might be. I wonder if there's something about this story that you wonder about. I wonder if there's something about this story that you would like to make your own. Sometimes after the story, some people at the circle will want to take turns working with the story. They're still thinking about it. And so they like to work with the story materials and think about it some more. So when you come to the room, when we're allowed to come back together, you may want to go over to the story shelves and get it down so you can think about it some more. Another way people sometimes make it their own is they go to the art and craft shelves. They might get paints or clay. They might get felt, glue. They might create something that tells about this story for them. And so maybe at home, you might have some of those things that you can use now to make this story your own and have it be with you. Of course, after the work time, then we clean up and put all our things away. We come back to the story circle. We have a time of prayer, a time where we can speak to God, sometimes out loud, sometimes so quietly that only God hears it. And we wait for each person to have that time before we say the prayer that Jesus taught us. And we remember all these years later, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. And all of God's children say, Amen. Yes. We usually have some matzah so that we remember a taste of the desert and that time that's remembered at the Passover. And we have a cup of water to remember the water of creation, the water of baptism, the water of Jesus' own baptism. We do this in a way to remember the time when Jesus had the bread and the cup with his friends. And we do this to get ready to have it together on the first Sunday of every month when we don't have godly play in this room because we have communion together in the sanctuary. So maybe you have a cracker and a cup of juice or water that you'd like to have now, and have your time of prayer and your time of communion together. And until we meet again, may the Lord bless you and keep you always.